Who should oversee billions of dollars in state funds? That's the choice Republican voters will make in the June 16th primary for state treasurer.
Voters trust my integrity.
My credentials are part of what sets me apart from the other people's performances.
Both current treasurer Todd Russ and current auditor Cindy Byrd say they're the right person for the job, but what exactly does the state treasurer do? They're responsible for making the state's cash, investments, and banking operations. Byrd is a fourth-generation Oklahoman and became the first woman elected state auditor in 2018. She spent those years exposing abuse of taxpayer funds, removing nearly 30 public officials from office, and sitting on different financial and investment boards.
As state treasurer, I'm going to take those same qualities into that office, investing for the greatest rate of return while also taking care of taxpayers through getting the unclaimed property fund returned to voters and making sure that office is run with integrity.
Todd Russ is also a fourth-generation Oklahoman. With more than 3 decades of banking experience, he says his bank was once rated as one of the top performing across the nation. He also served 6 terms in the state legislature, but currently he holds the state treasurer role, and he wants 4 more years.
When you look at coming into the Treasury after other people have been there, no criticisms of anybody, but I'm probably the first bank CEO that's been there in decades. And coming from a bank CEO background, you just look around and you just notice some things that need attention. So I immediately started repricing some things because they just didn't look right.
If elected, each candidate says they have a different focus for the office.
One of the priorities that is important to me for the state treasurer's office is that we are actively working to return property to Oklahomans that is being held in the unclaimed property fund. That money belongs to the citizens of this state. There are even instances where the state treasurer's office is holding money on behalf of cities or counties. That should not be happening. We should be aggressively returning this money back to the people to whom it belongs so that they can utilize that money in the best way they need.
I would just keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, we're having great success. Just keep finding ways to win. I tell people you can create value by making money, and you can also create value by saving money. And I've done that to the tune of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars for the state of Oklahoma. I have increased the bond rating agency for the state of Oklahoma on all 3 of those. Probably never been done in history, may never be done again. So those are phenomenal wins for the state of Oklahoma. The year before I came in, the Treasury, that $18 billion portfolio, had made about $80 million for the General Revenue Fund. Last year, I made $450 million, and I'm on track to break $465 million for the state of Oklahoma this year.
As your next state treasurer, I'm going to make it a priority to put competitive bidding practices back in place. It's important to the taxpayers of the state, whether you are investing funds, whether you are spending money, to make sure you're being transparent in how you are awarding these contracts. That's something that I think could be done in a better manner to serve taxpayers.
We've seen historic results for the state of Oklahoma since I got in there. I think God's had his hand on me and the state of Oklahoma to see phenomenal turnaround, identifying areas that we have underperformed and could do better. There's still areas out there we need to look into that I've identified, and will anxiously be waiting to see if I get another term to go in there and continue to see historic wins for the state of Oklahoma.
So why should they earn your vote?
Voters trust my integrity. As state auditor, I have proven that I will stand up for the taxpayer, I will do what's right, and help government be as efficient as possible.
I think it's important for Oklahoma voters to know just how far the state treasury has come in the last almost 4 years now. And if the voters want to keep making Oklahoma great again, then they need the person in there that can make that happen.
Republican voters will decide between the 2 candidates in the June 16th primary. The winner will advance to the general election, where there is no Democrat in the race, but there is a Libertarian on that November ballot. Megan Mosley, KOCO 5 News.